Okay, it is April the 9th, just after the weekly close. Let's do the market outlook and plans for the week ahead. We've got quite a lot to go over, so sit back and get comfy. So before I get into the meat of the presentation, I just wanted to make a quick point around sanity and how the chop is destroying everyone's mental. You just take a quick scroll through the timeline. It's people arguing with one another, people pointing fingers at one another, people so confident in their theses, and it's just tiresome. So I just wanted to quickly make a point that the goal in crypto, we talk about it being to survive over a long period of time, but the other thing is to just maintain sanity, because if you can't maintain your sanity, you're going to end up giving up. So let's get into things here. So let's start off with news events. So we actually have a pretty spicy week this week. On Friday, we have the CPI, which is going to be the main event for the week. I'll note that it's going to be pretty early in the U.S. session. So for me personally, or any other U.S. Region traders, you're going to want to be waking up real early for this one, because that data is going to come out pretty early. It'll probably come out before the U.S. session opens up. Actually, it will. It'll come out an hour before the U.S. session opens up. It'll be nice and early. Next thing is on Wednesday, we also have the FOMC minutes. That's probably going to be a little bit of a non-event, but maybe we can expect some degree of volatility around it. I don't know who the speaker is. If it's Powell, I'm sure there's going to be a bit of vol. That's it. Just to anticipate a little bit of extra vol for that. On Thursday, we have the PPI and then the unemployment. So Thursday is not really going to matter as much, but we have quite a few macro news events all lining up this week between Wednesday and Thursday. So the core one is going to be CPI, and I'll be going over how I'm going to trade that later in the video. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the S&P. So where we're at with the S&P is we're trading into this major resistance zone. We're definitely struggling to get through it. On lower time frame, VWAPs are looking somewhat healthy. So on lower time frame, the argument that we continue to trade up is somewhat valid. But basically, I've been rolling with the same thesis that we basically are going to continue to trade back down towards, either find support in the low volume or trade all the way back to the high volume node, which, to be honest, the high volume node is going to be more probable. So basically, trade down into this region here and hopefully find support to trade up for that next higher high. So just doing a brief rundown through structure here, just to make sure everyone's on the same page. We are, as we've transitioned into 2023, we're fighting for that structural change. So it was consecutive, bear structure throughout all of 2022. But throughout 2023, now we're starting to get that structural change, getting the higher highs and then the lower highs. So we're fighting for another higher high right here. So I could definitely see a reality where it trades up again, marks in that higher high, locks in that higher high, and then trades back to find support again before we end up trading towards 43 and 44. So as far as lower time frame stuff goes, it's in a massive resistance right now. So trading down is pretty probable. Higher time frame region though is that we're expecting to trade up towards the 43, 44 region, maybe as high as 45 to be honest. So nothing's changed on the S&P. It really lines up perfectly with what I think is going to happen with Bitcoin. So we can probably just go ahead and move over to that. But that's pretty much it for the S&P. I am wrong on this if this region gets lost. So we have so many supports in this area. So basically if 3,900 is lost again and we trade below it, then it's a pretty safe bet on us trading down towards 35. But until this starts to shape up and look bearish like this, we should be anticipating dip buying being the play still. Okay, let's go into Bitcoin here. So first things first with Bitcoin, let's talk about higher time frame VWAP structuring. So I still very much think that that this schematic is the play. At the end of the day, there's no way of knowing if number 2 potentially has already played out. If we start to accept over 29K, it will look like we're pushing towards play number 3. At this point, though, I'd still love to see us do our extended pullback towards the 25, 26 level that we had talked about. So TLDR is higher time frame VWAPs are lower 26s. So that's our estimated area of support. And then our major resistance is going to be around 35. And then if we look at the comps, just glance at the comps really quickly. Basically trading into the 32 to 33 region is what the comps would suggest is going to be the next major resistance. So you know, there isn't too much to update on this higher time frame plan. This chop is absolutely decimating everybody's mental. So stay focused on the bigger picture here. You know, trade the range if you want to do lower time frame trading. It's not that wise to bet on the range expansions. Betting on the range expansions is exactly why everybody's brains are fried right now. Everybody wants to bet on up and down, and we just keep chopping in the meantime. So stay focused with the task at hand. That ultimately we are going to break from this, but don't get too carried away with trying to catch that directional break. Okay, so as far as this Coinbase Premium goes, we're continuing to see it kind of fill out again. It's nothing extreme like it was a couple of weeks ago, but if you zoom in, you can see that the premium is coming back a little bit. So that is definitely a sign of health. We want to continue to see that. You know, if this starts to pivot towards a spot premium at some point, that's going to be pretty bearish. So as far as the premium goes, everything looks good. So here's my TLDR on lower time frame price action going into the week. So I just redrew this comp. This is officially a 21-day comp now. So this is, it's moving past the multi-day comp level, and now we've reached the macro composite level, right? Because we're almost at a month of price action. So, the obvious thing, in my opinion, is that if we come up and sweep this comp one more time, basically something like this, come up and sweep the comp one more time, trade back down towards the lows, and that is probably what I'm going to be using as my trigger for the next swing play that I'm going to hunt. For more information, check out the Paragon group with the link below, where I cover everything from how I trade to how you can develop your own style. We'll do a quick rundown on altcoins. So my classic list, it hasn't changed too much. I've just added a few things into it. So first things first is INJ. Every week it's the same coin, INJ. This coin is just always the strongest coin. So definitely going to be paying close attention to this. On a big picture, this thing is accepting over $5, which basically means its next major resistance is $10. So this thing has 100% to go up, basically. So if I see a long opportunity on INJ, I probably will be taking it. CFX is another one that I'm paying close attention to. This has been one of the Korean coins that's gotten a nice Korean bid, so I'll be paying close attention to this one. ENJ is in that same boat. So ENJ had a massive run up. So all this price action that we see right here was longs opening in a big way. So open interest increased by like 400 something percent in a very short period of time here. Now that has basically, I'm sure the OI hasn't really unwound. We can go check that really quickly. Oh shit, they actually have unwound it. Maybe that actually puts a damper in my thesis. Basically, my argument was that when this guy opens up that much long exposure, that he probably knows something. So this is putting a little bit of a damper on that plan because he's beginning to, he's unwound quite a bit of it. He's unwound 50% of what he opened, which was originally a big surge in OI. 400+%. So from a flow standpoint, this is actually healthy, right? The fact that he's been forced to unwind some of it maybe will increase that likelihood. So the TLDR on this is that paying close attention to premiums on this coin because I like the structure, right? The risk definition is good now that we flipped the yearly and we have the HVN to support. So pulling back into this region is a bid for expansion. So we were trading into massive resistance last week. We've pulled back. I think that that this is a pretty reasonable play if it has some lower time frame bull momentum, basically. So that's what I'm looking for, is just a little bit of bullish momentum going into the week, and this is something I'll be paying close attention to. Okay, moving forward, CHZ was one to pay attention to this week. It has some sort of stupid mainnet launch kind of bullshit. Who cares? Blah, blah, blah. It's got pretty strong lower time frame VWAP structures going, from April on. So I'm going to be paying close attention to CHZ. This is the major resistance, so if this thing starts to trade back above 14 cents or whatever, definitely going to be a CHZ bull. It pains me to say this, but both EOS and Cardano are both, pretty strong as well on the higher time frame VWAP, so I'll be paying close attention to those. Moving in, so this is my new section. I'm going to be calling it Big Booty because these are the rounded bottoms. So Arbitrum is the main big booty coin, but there are a few others to point out. So basically how I anticipate Arbitrum playing out is, number one is the classic parabola rounded bottom. And then there's, play number 2 is the fuck you rounded bottom, where we kind of deviate this and trade down lower. I've seen play number 1 and number 2 work out, so there's no telling which way it's going to go. But to be honest, I'm starting to think that play number 1 is going to happen, and that once I start to see that structural change, I can start to see some higher lows forming. I'm going to chase this coin. So this is the main rounded bottom coin I want to play. From now on, the rounded bottoms are called the big booty coins. We're coining that. That's official. Just lightly touching on the other one. So Blur is another one to pay attention to. It's very much got the same structure. Liquidity was in line to be setting up for this, and then the same thing with Joe. So these are the big booty coins. There's a bunch of other ones that are semi-strong. Things like LDO could be a contender. Of course, it looks really shit now that I'm looking at it a few hours later. This one was looking decent. It might be a play. Mask could be a play as well, right? So we talked about this last week. Mask needs to flip this HVN. If it does that, then it's going to get added right back into the list above. And that's pretty much it. There isn't too many other coins that I wanted to cover. As far as weak coins go, so one of the weak coins that I've really loved, I actually dragged it up, but we're going to be talking about it again as a weak coin, even though I was talking about it potentially being strong recently, is going to be Ape. So Ape has a big unlock. So basically, let's see, what was the list? Ape and Axes both have big unlocks on the 17th. So generally how that goes is it gets front run. So the structure and everything is looking really, really bearish on, Ape. This is a classic bearish structure. If I was to flip this, invert the scale, now this is all of a sudden a classic bullish coin, the way that I would depict. So the way it's set up, this is a pretty bearish coin. This could potentially be a pretty free short going into next week. A lot of the time the selling front runs the unlock events, so you want to be trying to short this before the unlock event happens, probably a few days before that. As long as the VWAP structuring looks bad, there's no reason to bet on this thing not going down. So one thing I will say, though, is that unlocks are a little bit of a dried up bit of edge. It's so old now. We've been doing that for years, so it's pretty old now. So we'll see how it plays out, but the VWAP structure lines up really well with the news events, so potentially be a free short this week. Last thing to talk about is going to be around volatility and liquidity. So I just kind of touched on that, but we'll go ahead and drive the point home further. Volatility and liquidity is ass right now. So, if all you need to do is look at Bitcoin to know that volatility is bad. We've seen way worse. It is worth noting that liquidity is quite bad too. When we look at our major things like Binance Perps and stuff, the liquidity has dried up a little bit. It's still fine to where it's tradable, but if you go down the risk totem pole at all, beyond Bitcoin, the liquidity just basically for majors and lower is just not there at all. So, I mean, that is probably indicative of the fact that we have volatility expansion upon us, right? So the range expansion is probably upon us, guys. So be definitely prepared for that. Yeah, I'll digress from that. Okay, last thing is going to be content. Yeah, that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions or anything that you want me to cover, this is the list of all the things that I intend to be covering in the near future. If you want anything added to this list, please let me know, and I will not hesitate to add it on there. Cheers, guys.